Hey, sports and drafts fans! It's Wednesday, August something, and he's Dave. I'm Chuck. Welcome to Sports and Drafts. And quick shout out before we get started to your old man. Had a little bit of a procedure today. Everything seems to have gone pretty well. Going to rest tonight, and hopefully we have him back home tomorrow. So thoughts going out to you, Jim, and quick recovery, and all is good. So, anyway, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Just middle of the week, hump day. Excited to talk about some sports tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your Darth Duck background you got going there.
Oh, yeah.
And hadn't seen that one before. But yeah, so a lot going on in sports. I know we're going to talk a lot about football, and Drama wants to put in her 2 cents, it sounds like. And dinner's at the front door. So actually, I'm going to let you talk about. I didn't actually look at this one, and but we're going to get started. Oh, before we do though, I hope you like my can of beer back here. And,
I do.
So we were at Costco, and I know it's the wrong month, but I thought this would be fun. A little bit of Hofbrau München Oktoberfest and Husesklassen Flaben Floben. So, yeah, it's a nice 6.3. Look, kind of a golden color here. And yeah, no, it's been quite tasty. Just cracked it open today, tapped it today. And so that should last in the fridge for, another 24 hours. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's a good one. I think it was like $18-19 at Costco, and I haven't had one of these little mini kegs in a long time. I was thinking I forgot what the one. I think I used to get maybe a Newcastle brown ale. I think you could buy those. A Widmer. I think Widmer you could get in this, and I enjoyed the Widmer Hefeweizen in that. And so, but yeah. So, what are you enjoying this evening?
So I'm taking a page from your youngest son, Hayden. So we had your grandsons at my house on Saturday.
Don't tell me you have a cider.
I do.
Oh.
It's his pineapple ace cider. So he brought a couple of those over and he left them in the fridge. And I was like, well, these need to get drank. So that's my selection tonight. It's 5%er. Not bad, really. Pretty refreshing. Just a little on the sweet side. Positive. There's no added sugar. It's vegan. There's no gluten in it. So that helps me for, but it's not I had one after doing yard work when it was hot outside and it hit the spot pretty good just to slam one. Finishing the other one he left tonight. So not too bad. Like I said, it's made in California, Sonoma Valley. But yeah, not too bad. So I'm going cider tonight.
Yeah, nice. Cider sometimes just don't do my stomach well. It's like I have the first one, and it's like, oh, my stomach kind of is turning a little bit, and but then have another one, and it seems to settle down. But yeah, my son likes those. You got to start somewhere. No, you know what? I shouldn't say that because he drinks some harder stuff than I do. So. I'll give him the light the ciders, but so what if you're watching a show, if you're having a drink tonight, put in the comments what you're enjoying this evening. I've got an Oktoberfest. I almost called you Dylan, but Dave has a cider, an Ace cider this evening. Gosh, I'm all totally messed up tonight. But put in the comments what you're enjoying this evening, or maybe you've already enjoyed it, and whether it be wine, beer, spirits, you just share in the comments, what you got going. Before we get into some football, a couple of stories up front. I was going to let you talk about this one because I actually didn't look at this one yet. So I know you did, and you sent it to me. So I was going to let you touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was cool. So this javelin thrower from Poland who won the silver and the Olympics, just recently. She auctioned off her silver medal raised $125,000.
Wow.
There was a Polish supermarket chain who bought it, and then they were nice enough just to donate, and they actually gave her medal back. They didn't want to keep
Oh, wow.
it. They just thought what she was doing was wonderful because she auctioned it off to try to help and get money to help small get surgery they couldn't afford. So she was giving it back. Back to the community. She donated it, and she said, this is just a piece of silver that's going to sit on a shelf. If I can, get money for it in an auction, and I can give that money to help, somebody who can't pay for a surgery get surgery, to prolong their life, to give them a better quality of life, then that's what I'm going to do. So I just thought it was really cool. Maria Andrishek. I'm gonna say I did pretty damn good on that.
Yeah.
Mia Andrishek.
Same thing.
So just a great story. Positive things. So many negative things going on right now all over the place. That I like seeing this positive stuff pop up too.
Yeah, and I like this one. Again, you sent this to me, but I'm a data and analytics kind of guy. And so when I saw that Usain Bolt had won his 8 gold medals over the course of 3 Olympics and ran for less than 115 seconds,
yeah,
right? And earns $119 million in that effort. But for those 2 minutes, he trained for 20 years, and it's quite the investment when you actually look at it. You only run for 115 seconds, but it took you 20 years to train to do that, and that was, I don't know. I love when I saw this, I was like, oh man, yeah, data analytics, I'm like, what a breakdown. That's, you're looking at that return on investment, 20 years, 119 million. And to put out about 115 seconds of effort,
it's over $1 million bucks a second.
Yeah. Of actual,
that's amazing.
Time. Competitive time. But what is it over the 20 years? I should have done that math, of training.
Well, but then with that though, I would think though, how many people train for 20 years and don't make 119 million or don't win? All those people that train for 20 years and don't make it, or don't win a gold, or maybe they make the Olympics every year for a country, but they never medal, and they're putting all that time in.
Yeah, no, totally.
Banked off of, he's kind of the man there in Jamaica. He's the guy.
Yeah, I really like this one too, and I actually saw this one. Guy's first game pitching, and he throws a no-hitter. I mean, that is like, where do you go from there? Do you just retire?
Yeah, I don't know. And his dad was in the stands. I saw on Sports Center they're showing his dad after the game, and he's crying and everyone's high fiving him, and he's just losing his mind. And just awesome overall night for that whole family and for all those guys. And yeah, your first major league start, and you throw a no hitter. Yeah, why? Just and he probably barely makes any money as he just got called up. It's we're past the middle of the season. If he just started, he's been in AAA all year. So he just got called up. So he's not making any huge money yet. So you can't quit because you got to earn that contract now. But you got this now on your resume. You got this notch under your belt. So yeah, good for this kid. I hope he's just keeps it rolling. Be fun to watch.
Yeah. No, that was that was I read that and I'm like, man, what an entry into the MLB. It's just, your first game on the mound, and you throw a no hitter, and so Jake said one thing, but then thank you for Jake for expanding, knowing that he did it against the Padres.
Yeah.
So Tatis first game back, but yeah, the Padres, I mean, that's a tough team. I mean, to throw a no-hitter against the Padres is a feat in itself. It's not like you're throwing against the bottom of the barrel team right there. You're looking at a real contender in San Diego. And so yeah, no, thanks for throwing that in there, Jake. And Thanks for joining the show. So, this week I had to, I was kind of like the basketball season was there. You got a little bit of baseball and then NFL trying to jump in and say, okay, who's on what team, who's, preseason, whatever. Get a call out of the blue last week. And buddy says, hey, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, nothing. He's like, all right, let's go to the game or come to the game, because he was actually already there. He has season tickets to the Cardinals game. And so and a friend of his his wife couldn't come. And so he's like, yeah, he'll sell you your ticket. It was only like $45. And so I was like, yeah, I'm there, plus $6 parking. And and I'm only 10 minutes away from the stadium here, State Farm Arena or Stadium in Glendale. So yeah, so I went to the Cardinals game, and I was going to show you a little bit there. There's a final score, and Cardinals, were able to pull it out, in the end. Cardinals actually led the game most of the way into the fourth quarter. Dallas came back, took the lead, and they've got Cardinals got this second-year quarterback, Streveler. Kid's impressive. His first year in the league was last year, drafted or picked up by the Cardinals last year. He's a little bit like Murray, where he's a running quarterback, and so his first play from scrimmage was a great run. He set them up for their first touchdown, or actually their only touchdown. I think it was their only touchdown. The rest of them, these might be field goals. Yeah, and a lot of Matt Prater field goals, but and Dallas only had one touchdown also. But Dallas was able to put a drive together, get a touchdown in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I mean, it was this Streveler kid played probably 3 quarters, and then before that though, they had Colt McCoy coming over from the football team in Washington. And so he didn't actually do too bad. But you got Colt McCoy and you got the Streveler kid on the bench. That's going to be a tough decision who you're going to go through. But I was going to show you real quick here at the end of the game. This was 2 seconds left on the clock, and Matt Prater, the NFL holds the NFL's longest field goal record, 64 yards, back in 2013. But so here's Matt Prater. Here's from our seats. Kicks this, I think it was 48 yards. 48 yards. And there's my buddy, Robert Ramsey, from people I don't know. And this guy with his tall boy. Yeah! Okay, sorry. But yeah, that was as time expired. So Arizona won that game with a game-ending field goal from Matt Prater. Matt Prater was perfect on the night, and I was shocked that I guess somewhat shocked that he kicked the whole game, and you have a starter here, and he kicked the whole game, and it's like you would think you'd have somebody else in the game, that you either picked up or, I don't know, but it was good. But hey, Kim, thanks for joining the show. I'm glad you joined us. And Kim's an avid Dodgers fan. Kim and Jake have been kind of going back and forth here, so yeah. So hey, Kim, thanks for joining the show. We are excited about football also. And before we get on, let's see what Jake had to say. Scherzer was on why he blocked the trade to the Padres. I don't want some kid putting a ginormous medallion around his neck. I'm here to play baseball. So thanks for joining, Kim and Jake, and everyone else. So yeah, had a blast at the game. I'm gonna tell you, first time at State Farm Stadium at an event, fairly easy to get into. Once you get to the corner, you're probably literally 2-minute drive from the stadium, and it takes you about 20 minutes to get into the parking lot. But up until that point, pretty easy. I'm thinking about trying to get tickets for Leela and I to go to the Chiefs game on the 20th, and some affordable tickets still available there. So yeah, good time. I mean, it was like, for me, it was, it was just, just being able to acclimate back into football. For the community here, though, it's been, they had one game last year that the home team could go to, that fans could go to. It was the last game of the season. Other than that, they didn't get to go to a game all season because of COVID. And then, it was a season before that, so it's really been a year and a half. I have to say that for a preseason football game, that stadium was at least 85% full, and it holds 65,000 people. It was at least 85% full. It kind of took a quarter to get everyone there. And then about the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think people started leaving. And probably thought, it's a preseason game. Don't really care. I was here. Woohoo! And I took some pictures. I didn't put them up here, but I took some pictures to catch, the capacity, and it was at least 85,000 people. I'm sorry, 85% of 65,000 people. So at least.
I'm just glad fans are back, man. That had to be fun, just seeing people back and having a good time and having a good time together. I mean, sports is one of the only things, sports and music, really. Maybe you could say, plays and things on a smaller scale because they're in smaller theaters usually. But, you go to a rock concert or you go to a ball game, and it's not like any other thing that you can go to unless you're going to, like, I don't know, the LA fair or the state fair somewhere in some big city where everyone's smashed together trying to have a good time, eating fried food and, shopping and riding rides or whatever and looking at, wares and stuff. But, I mean, I'm just glad fans are back and we're, the NFL has seemed to figure this out. There hasn't been any crazy announcement yet. I think a couple cities had said something about, you're going to have to verify if you're vaccinated or if you, are negative, like a recent test that you tested negative if you're not vaccinated. So I don't know what that situation is in Arizona, if anything like that was even brought up, but I don't know how teams are even going to be able to maneuver that. If that comes down the line, I don't even see how they're going to be able to manage that. You'd have to hire so much. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, I got an email, actually, I think earlier today, from the Arizona Cardinals, and basically apologizing for their service. And I read it wrong the first time. It said, we're trying to provide a safe and enjoyable environment, and we failed. And I'm like, oh crap, COVID, something COVID, it was a super spreader event, or whatever. No, but they were actually saying, hey, we let you down based on our hospitality and customer service. I didn't see it. I literally didn't see it. Now, we were at a higher level. We were on the 400 level, which is literally the highest level, but only 3 rows from the edge. So there's still a lot of rows behind us. I still thought it was a great view, but I could see where the Red Sea is, where they have the horn and everything. They got the drum team, which is on like the first level. I can see they're right. Oops, my hands isn't here, but they're really right to my right, down a little. And at halftime, that was just a sea of people. So I think maybe they didn't think there was as many people would show up to the game as they did, and so they were understaffed for serving food. I went down to get my second half tall boy, and the food lines were just a little bit too. I mean, not a little bit too long. They were really long. I'm like, yeah, I'll pick something up on the way out of here, and I don't need to eat that bad right now. So, but. Yeah. So anyway, it was just nice to see that the Cardinals staff, organization recognized, or at least hospitality within the stadium. Hey, we feel like we let you down. I didn't think so, because the line I went to for my tall boy, I waited like a total of 30 seconds. And I've never waited that. That's never been like that anywhere. Even the guy that I had two beers at the game. They were two tall boys, one in the first half, one in the second half. And, the guy that was there remembered me from the first half. So, he, it was like, it couldn't have been that busy. Yeah, right. If because he remember I paid with Apple Pay off my watch. He thought that was cool, whatever, and so anyway, yeah. No, I had a fantastic experience, and I can't wait to get back there again. I'd like to take Leela and go, but other than that, a little bit of depressing news today that or this week, and I was kind of pulling. I was really pulling for this guy. He hasn't started an NFL game in 7 years. And that's it. That's the image. That's the last you're going to see of that name on the back of that jersey. And Tim Tebow cut as a tight end. I really thought that hopefully just his athleticism, period, would earn him a spot as the backup to the backup to the backup of everybody's backup, quarterback or tight end. It sucks. I kind of almost. I'm almost a little bit pissed at Jacksonville Jaguars and the coaching staff there for even bringing him in, just to tease the team and the fans. And but maybe he can try baseball. Oh wait, yes he did, right? The guy he's a competitor. Come on, you can't blame the guy. He's a competitor. He wants to compete. And so, yeah, he did try baseball. He wasn't horrible at baseball. But, yeah, no, I get you, Jake. Yeah, a little bit sad. I've just always rooted for this guy. I think I wish he would have had at least another year or two at quarterback with a supportive team. I don't know. Thoughts?
The only thought I really have is I thought they may give him a little bit longer in the preseason as far as competition in games. I thought maybe he'd at least make it to the second game because there's only 3 this preseason. I didn't know if he'd make it to the final game because that's where you might see a little bit more of the starters play, and he clearly wasn't a starter. But I thought he'd at least make 2 preseason games. Plus, I know cuts were coming. I thought he may get cut. I especially thought it after the videos came out and everyone got on his case for a bad block that he threw. We've coached. I've played. Guys are collapsing all over the line of scrimmage constantly. They're always hitting their own guy and tripping over their own teammates, and that stuff happens all the time. If you watch film after any NFL game and you just focused on watching the offensive and defensive line, you'd see those guys tripping and hitting their own teammates constantly. So I didn't really think anything about that. I felt like, he's a big name and everyone was going to have a, microscope on him. So obviously they were going to catch some of those things. And I think really the big thing that I heard was, he's not the starting tight end. He's not the backup tight end, right? Well, if you're not really on the field as the tight end right away, then you have to play special teams. And he wasn't playing special teams. He had a hard time tackling. So if you can't contribute on special teams as like the third tight end, you're just not going to make the team. So I think they just saw that early enough on that he wasn't going to get this next shot at least, game 2, and cuts are already happening. And so he was on the list. He came in. I don't know what, maybe he added to the locker room or to practices through the summer as an Urban Meyer's guy, since college. I don't know if he helped any of these players going forward with maybe how to deal with Urban Meyer as a head coach, since, right. He's very close to him and he can add a lot of that guidance to these players that have never played for Urban Meyer. So he had some value over the summer. And if anything, I thought maybe they would keep him on because they have another preseason of tickets to sell, where if he's in the game, you're going to sell out a preseason game. Like, no 85% full like the Cardinals. If you post Tim Tebow's going to play two quarters, you sell out the stadium in Jacksonville for a preseason game. And then I cut him.
Yep.
Then I cut him before the last game. I would have kept him for at least 2 games just to make money. He already had like the highest selling jersey for like a month. He already made them a ton of money off his jersey that no one's going to wear now because he's not even on the team. A bunch of people bought Tebow Jacksonville Jaguar jerseys, like a ton of people, like the state of Florida. You know,
I mean, for that reason alone, you're absolutely correct. I mean, at least keep the guy on. I mean, I know you're it's kind of like you're leading people on. Oh, he's getting closer. He's there for another game. But I really think that, was his performance horrible? Everyone's like clasping onto this viral video of him whiffing on a block. But as you said, everyone does. Everyone does. In the NFL, starters do. And it's just something that happens. And when you're in your first game in a position, a first real game in a position, going full speed, you can mistime something, you can misread something, and it's going to happen, and you learn from it. It's how do you recover from it, that's going to determine, if you're going to make the team or not, or how you move forward. But yeah, I mean, again, for the money and the fans who bought his jersey, keep him around another game. He's not, I think they had to cut down to 80 something this week, and then but you still, I'm sure he's better than 30 some other people that are currently, fighting for a spot. And before we move on, Jake, no, man, you can always be real on the show, Jake. I agree with you, man. He's a good human. He's a great role model. And the NFL or any sport needs more people like him. So absolutely. So thanks for throwing that in there. No, we're all giving crap, but no, I mean, I guess I've always been a Tebow fan, and I guess I saw more in him than other people did, and a lot of time, guy has talent. I'm not gonna lie, guy has talent. Does he have enough talent? I don't know, because I don't think he had the best opportunity to be successful.
Well, yeah. I mean, how I basically look at it is if I separate myself from just pure football purist, playing the game, and I look at it as an entertainment business, which it is.
Right.
Anytime he played, no matter if he went 3 for 20 passing, you couldn't not watch him. Like, do you give a shit if you watch Kirk Cousins for the Vikings? Do you care? Are you really watching Kirk Cousins? The guy might throw for 350 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns, but no one's talking about Kirk Cousins Sunday after the games or Monday. And he's a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
But I can take him or leave him. I can grab a whole bunch of other players in the league that are very good professional quarterbacks. I don't care if I watch their team play or if I watch him play. When Team Tebow's on the field, I mean, I don't know. Is it like a train wreck? Maybe, but someone's going to win. Like, he wins, and he might go 1 for 10, but that one pass is the last pass of the game to win 6-0. That was his career, which I was listening to Rich Eisen, NFL Network, his show earlier this week. And he was like, I will tell my kids about Tim Tebow because he had an NFL career like no one else I'd ever seen, where he was the biggest thing in the world. He won games, but no one believed in him. Yeah, maybe he couldn't pass that well, but he still won games. And then all of a sudden he was gone. And then he tried to come back. And yeah, I've never seen anyone like it ever. So, I mean, and that's kind of what Tim Tebow is. He's an extraordinary person who's had really extraordinary opportunities and moments in his life through him just trying hard. He tries hard. He doesn't accept, he doesn't accept failure till he's actually failed. Let's put it that way, because he'll give it his all until it gets shut down. I mean, he played baseball for 4 years. Most people didn't think he was going to play for 4 months.
Right.
And, but that was just off of him, and he gradually got better. He improved. So, yeah, I mean, I just keep kudos to him as a guy. I mean, how can I talk smack about a guy that's played 2 professional sports at whatever levels? You know, I ain't doing shit. I'm sitting here talking about him. So how are you going to talk smack about a guy that could kick the shit out of you in basically every sport if you went up against him?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't win. So, like, I mean, I know people are journalists and stuff. Like, you got to get off this guy's back. He's the one putting in the time, and he's the one getting up at 5:30 lifting weights, and then in batting cage for 2 hours at 6:30 in the morning. Like, I'm not going to give this guy a bad time. Like, it didn't work. He'll go probably back to the SEC network. He'll be calling games, college games. He'll go right back into his booth, and he'll do great, and people will love listening to him. And he's a legend in the SEC. He'll always be a legend in Florida. Like that, none of that's going to go away for the guy.
Too bad I can't support the SEC though. So, just calling Pac-12 games. If Jake says Tebow needs to try his luck at the Raiders, Gruden can make an average tight end to a great one. It's Waller. Oh, Gruden. Gruden's got a big year this year. I mean, I think Gruden has got a very short hook this year. You know, he's won a Super Bowl with them before. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Whether Carr stays healthy, Mariota's already hurt. I looked today on an injury report, and Mariota's injured. I'm like, wasn't he injured last year? I mean, I would love to see Marcus Mariota starting somewhere, but the guy, I'm to the point I'm giving up on this guy. It's like, dude, it's football. You got to stay healthy somehow. Other people do it, figure this shit out. And, So, and they have another young quarterback in there. Gosh, I can't remember his name that played last week that everyone was really impressed with. Had a good preseason game. And, you're 3 out of 10 for Gruden. You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't think. Kim says, who's your rookie, number 32?
A running back?
Is that for the 49ers?
Yeah, he's a big back from Ohio State. He's like, he's a big power back. Sermon, Troy Sermon.
Oh, gotcha.
Troy Sermon. Yeah, he's from Ohio State. He's a rookie. He's a bigger back. He goes about 240, 6 foot, pretty big back.
Fullback?
So he'll carry the ball a lot. He'll be a second down guy. He'll share carries with Mostert. Mostert will come out and be third down, probably some first downs, but yeah. Yeah, and that going back to the Raiders, though, I mean, I heard, Carr came out not too long ago, and he was like, "Oh, I want to be like Brady, but I want to play for the Raiders for like 15 more years." And I was like, did every Raider fan just throw up when they heard that, thinking about potentially having Carr for the next 15 years? How about they're not going to want you for the next 15 years because you're not winning games?
Yeah,
like I don't care who the coach is. I'm not seeing him being the quarterback that's winning the Raiders games enough to beat Patrick Mahomes or, to beat any, Josh Allen in Buffalo. Like, I don't know, unless they get a lot more talent around him. I don't see it. I haven't seen it yet. And he's been the quarterback there for a while. So,
it comes down to, like, with the Raiders, you look at, and I don't care if, the Dallas Cowboys can lose every game of the season. I'm okay with it. But the Dallas Cowboys have always been good in the regular season. Last year was an exception. Dak Prescott's out the whole year. But you have Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton should have carried that team a lot further than what happened. I mean, he was a starter. I mean, okay, he was a starter for a very bad team, but the guy put up crazy numbers every week trying to keep them in a game. So he's a capable quarterback going to a more impressive team that all of a sudden was not impressive. And so Dallas is a perennial, hey, we're good. We'll get to the first round of the playoffs, and then okay, we're done. Raiders are kind of the same way. And Andy Dalton, just like Dak Prescott, just like Tony Romo, I can get you there. I just can't get you, I can get you to the playoffs. I just can't take you all the way. And that's for me, that's Derek Carr. Derek Carr's not that guy. You look at Tom Brady, who went to, the Buccaneers. You have a great coach in Bruce Arians, just like you have a great coach in John Gruden. But he took, I'm not gonna say marginal talent. They had some great talent in Tampa Bay, but they had that talent there with Jameis Winston. And, you added a few pieces, but not pieces that are going to outshine Tom Brady. And something happened. I'm not a huge Tom Brady fan. And it worked, and so I just, you got to sometimes take a leap to say, we got to get over this hump. We have a fantastic defense. We have a great offense. What's our missing piece? Yeah, we're hanging on to somebody like, Derek Carr, we're hanging on to someone, whether it be a running back, whoever. And I don't know. So I just think Derek Carr is going to be in that perennial, get you close, but not all the way.
Well, yeah, and you got to think about some of these quarterbacks too, and like the time in history that they're playing right now. They're some of the best quarterbacks ever in the last, 15 years or so. I mean, so if you're a Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, you're not beating Tom Brady, you're not beating Roethlisberger, you're not beating Peyton Manning, you're not beating Drew Brees. I mean, there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks, that excelled while you were in the league that you're not going to beat them. Your team's not as good as their team. You're not as good as a quarterback. Those are Hall of Fame quarterbacks. There's like a half dozen of them that played within the last 15 years, that have even a guy like Phillip Rivers. He's in the top 5 of almost every statistical category, and his teams didn't win and didn't get, real far in playoffs and stuff. But even a guy like that, who's similar with his team as Derek Carr is, seems to be a way better quarterback, has way better numbers, more wins, all things like that. So, that's part of it too is, who are you going up against? It's like if you were a shooting guard in the 90s in the NBA, guess what? You weren't starting in the NBA All-Star game if you're in the East because Michael Jordan has that spot locked up for 15 years. You're never going to be the shooting guard starting in the East in the 90s in the NBA as long as Michael Jordan is on a team. Like, he's got it. It's locked up. It was like, just how it is. Like in the 2000s, Shaq's with the Lakers. Guess what? You're the backup center in the All-Star team. No matter how good of a season you've had, you're not going to beat Shaq. So, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are running into that. Just, the time they're playing in, a lot of really good quarterbacks that you got to try to beat. And, Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings. He's won 70% of the Super Bowls in like the last 12 years, at least. Like,
that's ridiculous.
That's one guy. That's one guy, and then Eli Scott too. There's other guys that have multiples besides, Roethlisberger has 2. There's other guys in the same era that have multiple Super Bowls also. So there's like 5 guys running the last 15 years of the league at quarterback with their team. So
yeah,
good luck getting in there.
Jake says that Derek Carr. I'm trying to click on show here. He can back up the future Raider quarterback Keaton Slovis. This is a quarterback out of USC, and but I think he's a sophomore. But so a few more years maybe, and he's the same as for Kobe at the 2. But but. So anyway, God, we're going a little bit over, but this is fantastic. I mean, this is what we strive for, right? This is what we live for is a little bit of football, and there's still a lot. I think I honestly I was looking today at the who's been cut so far. Not anyone else that I really recognize. There was one name in there. And even looking at the injury report, not a lot of big names there. I mean, doesn't surprise. Dak Prescott and his shoulder is on the injured, is still uninjured. Probably won't play this week. You know, I just, you know, oh God, the Cowboys. Stan, I'm going to see you in like a week and a half. We're going to Hawaii with Stan Roberts and Tammy, and he's a huge Cowboy fan. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, so we need to get into play it through. Last week, though, I just want to touch real quick on last week. You did the draft order. I want to call foul, and I want to have a redraw of the draft order. Because I don't know karma. I don't think right. I don't think I've ever picked from for fantasy draft. I don't think I've ever picked from the 10th position. So I guess the only good thing is that I'll have the 10th and 11th pick. So yeah. I will be. If anyone else in our draft, other than you, if anyone else in our draft doesn't watch this show this week, I'm telling you, I'm picking a quarterback and a receiver with 10 and 11. I'm doing something completely different this year. Quarterback, receiver, Matt pair, 10 and 11. So
maybe Derek.
What? And hang on, you froze right there. You're still frozen. You're still frozen. No Derek Carr. I don't know if you're trying to say Derek Carr, but no. Maybe
Dak Prescott?
Hell no. Maybe I'll become a homer and take Hopkins and Murray. And
that's not a bad tandem. That's a pretty good duo, really.
So we'll see if they're still there at the first round. But everyone's usually picking running backs first round. So so I'm gonna do something a little bit. I'm gonna have to think about it. I'm gonna have to go through, do a mock draft from that position, and or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, and see if so hey, I guess if you're watching the show or you watch the show through the week, and share with us what your strategy is. If you had the last pick in the first round, what's your strategy? Because trust me, I need it. I've never won our league. We had a little bit of a shakeup in our league this year. We had a couple people that have been longtime participants with the Stephen Kelly, and so not going to be with us this year. I'm a little depressed. At the same time, I'm a little happy because Kelly, she's a perennial winner.
She's the MVP of the league. She's been the best. She's been the most winningest player in our league for the last 7 years or how long? Probably. And so Kim says, Dave, looks like you're losing it. So I don't know what that means. But, probably losing my feed because I froze.
But anyway, so I got to do some homework because I've always been usually in the top 3 picks of the first round, and I will be in Hawaii during the week. But I think you said it was 7 p.m. and I think that's 3 or 4 hours earlier. So I should be 4 p.m. our time, 4 p.m. West Coast. So we get in at 1 or something. So I should be at the hotel by because we fly in that day. So, thanks a lot for all those other people who I said I'd like it to be on this weekend. I guess they're all afraid of me from winning. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go ahead and we usually have a 30-minute show. We love talking about football, so I wouldn't be surprised if we go a little bit long, folks. And moving on into the football season, a lot to talk about. There's going to be some fantastic stuff to talk about, but we always want to make sure we don't want to miss Dave's Play It Through Person of the Week. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Dave, and he's gonna share with us who he has chosen for this week's Play It Through Person of the Week.
Thanks, man. So this week, the Play It Through Person of the Week is Emily Einfeld. She is a U.S. distance runner. She runs 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters, and this story was brought up in the Olympics, and I just kind of remembered it and kind of had it banked in my memory for the show, and a real strange situation. So she kind of played it through in a different way. A lot of the times when we have play it through, it's something maybe an ailment or something physical or mental, and this one is definitely a mental one where she actually had a stalker for 3 years. She was engaged. This gentleman here, his name is Craig Donnelly. He is, as you can tell, this is his mugshot. He is now in jail. Her through social media accounts. And at first it seemed kind of harmless. He was just kind of like, hey, I'm into running too, which he was. He was a runner when he was younger. He went to college, NAI school, and he ran for them. So he was into running, but he was saying how he was, like a U.S. national coach, which he wasn't really. And then he was, at first just trying to talk to her about running, and I guess his messages became overwhelming where he was constantly messaging, and then she was trying to get him to, stop or at least slow down. And she was being nice, but she was like, hey, you don't need to message me 800 times a day, and this is kind of getting weird. And the weirdness continued, so she just blocked him. She blocked him from all her social media. Well, he kept creating new different accounts where he would find his way back into social media and back into her account to put messages and send her messages and things. And so finally, she got a restraining order on this fella. What makes the story really kind of strange is he was a runner, but he does suffer from seizures. And he was married before, this Craig gentleman was, and from what everyone had heard from his family and friends who knew him kind of when he was in college, very into track, very heady guy, kind of antisocial, but nothing strange, nothing out of the blue. He had a seizure in 2016 when he was running, and he landed on his head, and he got frontal lobe damage, back lobe damage, and then he had to basically learn how to eat and walk and all those things again. And it really messed with him mentally, where he started lashing out. He started having a lot of mental health issues due to the brain damage that he got from the seizure, and his just behavior became real erratic. He became very paranoid. And so his marriage ended, and then I guess after his marriage ended, he just kind of lost it a bit. He lost himself, and so he started messaging Emily, who she was training for the Olympics, and then she actually got a restraining order on him, but it kind of messed up her whole schedule. She was sleeping in Airbnbs and hotels with her fiance because she felt threatened that this gentleman was gonna, come harm her. He knew where she lived. He had sent wedding rings and said, we're getting married on this day. I'll be at your house. And the rings came, he bailed them. She didn't accept them. They got sent back. So he got even more angry. Finally, she did get, a restraining order against him. And then she didn't hear everything was done, and then he started messaging her again just in 2020. When she was at the trials, she ran a really good race, but that morning he had put messages on her social media, and she played it through there. She actually had a personal best time in the 2020 race that she was in. It was her first of the season. It was a 5,000 meter, had a personal best time. So she was, playing it through. She still ran, even though this guy was kind of back into her life, unfortunately. And then things got real crazy where, she had to get the police involved, found out that he was moving to an apartment 2 miles from her house. He had posted a message on LinkedIn how he was going to, harm her. So the police put out a warrant for his arrest in Portland, Oregon. That's where she lives. That's where he was living. And basically he fled the state with a warrant in Oregon, so they couldn't really do anything else to him in Oregon. So he was just kind of traveling around the U.S. with this warrant in Oregon. Ended up getting picked up in Tennessee on the warrant, which you could tell he was not with it mentally, because he called the police himself with a warrant. He said that people were trying to steal his millions of dollars, of which he didn't have. So obviously he was, very much struggling with his thoughts. So the police came and saw he had a warrant, and they just picked him up in Tennessee and, ended up, then placing him in jail. This was kind of right before the Olympics happened. So she went into the Olympics, she was at the trials when this was kind of all happening. She ended up placing 9th because mentally it was a lot for her. Her training regimen was off because she was, afraid for a lot of times. She was paranoid just while he was loose running about, thinking, oh, he's going to show up at her house at any time. So she just had a lot of mental trauma from this stalker. One of the really frightening things, and like you said, you like analytics earlier, Chuck, but the Runner's World did a survey of women who are runners. They routinely run, and 84% of the women that they surveyed said that they had been harassed in some way while running, whether that's a cat call or someone, saying even more than something, some way, someone had harassed them while they were running. 43% of those women said that it had happened more than once to them. My wife walks every day in our neighborhood, and I asked her if she's ever been harassed while she's walking, and she says not to any sort of physical amount, but yeah, she's had guys honk horns and yell out the window, and she feels like, there's landscape guys that are just staring her down as she's walking. And so it seems like a very real thing, which is very unfortunate. It's very, disgusting. In this online thing, it says 1 in 3. Also, there was a study, 1 in 3 American women under the age of 35 have been sexually harassed online, which is a much harder thing to try to, get a warrant for. So that was part of the story. Also, is they couldn't really go after this Craig Donnelly guy very well because everything was on social media, and they didn't, he had never seen her. He had never been around her in person that she knew of. It was just over, more and more now they're creating laws and rules in places where, this is seen more as a threat, because a lot of police officers said when these cries come unheard, a lot of times it does end up in, something violent or something very bad happening potentially to these people that are getting stalked. So yeah, just kind of a story that I remember seeing, but now that, this Craig Donnelly gentleman has been arrested, I just wish, Emily the best. I hope that she can move forward in her running career. That she feels safe knowing he's no longer on the streets, and that she can just continue to play it through and, keep doing what she loves to do at such a high level, and that she will be able to, keep racing, hopefully participate in the next Olympics, because she does have the talent. She's ran the times, they're recorded. She's ran Olympic type times, just didn't work out with, all the things she was dealing with this stalker. So that's why Emily Infield is our Play It Through Person of the Week, just for persevering through such a weird and illness, stalking you for a few years. This was a years battle, not just like it happened for a little while. It was years that she was kind of tormented by this gentleman. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic story. I listened to what you said. I didn't do any research on Emily before you sent her, but I listened to just basically my takeaway is from what you've shared. It's one thing to be able to train as an athlete, to compete and to be great at what you do, and to be able to know that you can compete at a top level, because that's why you compete. But all of those external forces that are out there that so many people don't understand, that can affect your ability to compete, in what this man, how this man affected her ability to compete. Thankfully, he's not going to be a part of this anymore, a threat anymore. But just, I mean, I guess just the simple fact in looking at what athletes go through outside of just the simple training, and to do what they do, professionally or even at the amateur level, those external forces that affect us, and on a day-to-day basis, and that may affect our ability to compete. And in this case, there was an effect, and I'm certain that she is going to rise back to the top. But no, I mean, what a fantastic story that you were sharing there, and a little bit deeper of a story than what's normally shared, and for certain. And but I'm glad that you chose this young lady this week, and and to try to transition a little bit, to the positive. Jake says, Whitney's pretty cut. I wouldn't mess with her. So as you shared with her walk, so she Whitney does very well with her beach body, and coaching others to be the same. And so thanks, Jake, for that positive comment there. But and thank you, Dave, for choosing this person for this week's Play It Through Person of the Week. And with that, we've gone almost a half an hour over, but I don't even feel like we did, right?
I still got drink in my bottle.
Right? I still got drink in mine.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, folks, hey, thanks everyone. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Kim, for being a part of the show, commenting. Thank you, Cindy, for jumping in. Jim, again, we look forward to having you back next week. Rest well tonight, buddy. And we'll see you, back home tomorrow. And with that, everyone, have a fantastic week. On behalf of, Dave can really say goodbye himself, but I look at the screen and I say, Dave, because you're over there on my screen, and I'm really green tonight, and you're really red.
I know. I need to figure this lighting out.
I was trying to switch my lights around, my ring light up here around. I'm like, I'm really green tonight. I'm not jaundiced, folks, so don't worry about me. I'm healthy. And thank you, Jake. Hope you join us next week, and be a part of the show. We loved your comments, man. And so anyway, on behalf of Dave and myself, Chuck, thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you all next week, 8:00 on the Pacific West Coast, whatever it may be, and 8:00. So we'll see you all then. Have a fantastic week, everyone. And we'll be closer to week 1 of kickoff. So we'll talk a little more NFL next week. Bye, everyone. Have a fantastic week.